Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, and prepare yourselves for a story that is currently sending absolute shockwaves throughout the entire continent of Asia and the global tennis community. We have breaking, monumental news from the world of professional tennis, a sport that is continuously evolving and expanding its international footprint, but rarely gives us a narrative quite as compelling as the one we have just witnessed. Today, we are analyzing what can only be described as a monumental paradigm shift. We are looking at a moment that will undoubtedly be remembered in the annals of Southeast Asian sports history for decades to come. I am talking, of course, about the blockbuster quarterfinal showdown at the prestigious 2026 WTA 125 Birmingham Open, where the absolute pride of the Philippines, Alexandra Eala, went head-to-head in a live, high-stakes battle with Thailand's phenomenal rising star Mananchaya. The final scoreline reads 6-3, 6-2 in favor of the Filipino sensation. But let me tell you right here and right now, those two numbers do not even begin to scratch the surface of the drama. The intensity, the tactical mastery, and the sheer historical weight of what just transpired on the pristine yet treacherous grass courts of the Edgbaston Priory Club in the United Kingdom. To truly understand the gravity of this match, we have to zoom out and look at the broader landscape of international tennis. For the longest time, the highest echelons of professional tennis have been heavily dominated by players from Europe and the United States. We have had our Asian pioneers, of course, legends who broke the mold and showed that players from the East could compete and win on the biggest stages. But to see two young, fiercely competitive women from Southeast Asia, specifically the Philippines and Thailand, colliding in the latter stages of a deeply traditional European grass court tournament is something incredibly rare and profoundly special. It is a testament to the massive developmental leaps that tennis programs in these nations have made. The entire continent of Asia was glued to their screens for this one. This was not just a quarterfinal match to see who advances to the weekend. This was a battle for regional supremacy, a clash of two distinct developmental pathways, and a showcase of the very best that Southeast Asian tennis has to offer the world. Let us set the scene. It is early June in Birmingham, England. The Birmingham Classic, currently operating as a highly competitive WTA 125 event, is one of the most vital stepping stones on professional calendar. It is here where players transition from the grueling, slow, punishing red clay of the French Open to the fast, unpredictable, and highly specialized grass courts of the British summer. Grass is the most difficult surface to master in modern tennis. The bounce is incredibly low, the ball skids rapidly off the turf, and the margin for error is virtually microscopic. To succeed on grass, you cannot just rely on heavy topspin and baseline defense. You must have first-strike tennis capabilities, exceptional footwork, and the courage to move forward. And it was under these exact, unforgiving conditions that Alexandra Eala, currently riding the high of a career-best world ranking of number 37, and entering this tournament burdened with the massive expectations of being a number 1 overall seed, stepped on the court to face a deeply familiar and highly motivated adversary in Mananchaya. When we talk about Alexandra Eala in 2026, we are no longer talking about a promising junior player or a rising prospect. We are talking about an established, feared, and highly respected force on the WTA Tour. At just 21 years of age, she has matured into a top-tier competitor. Being the top seed at a tournament of this caliber changes the psychological dynamic entirely. You are no longer the underdog trying to cause an upset. You are the hunted. Every single player across the net is bringing their absolute best tennis because beating the top seed makes their season. And Eala has carried that target on her back with the poise of a seasoned veteran. Coming into this quarterfinal, she had already dismantled Priscilla Hahn in a brutal 6-0, 6-2 masterclass, and she survived a terrifying scare against the dangerous Russian Alina Kareva, where she was down 5-2 in the second set before flipping a psychological switch and winning 5 consecutive games to steal the match 6-2, 7-5. That extraordinary display of mental fortitude against Kareva proved that Eala was not just playing well, she was refusing to lose. But waiting for her in the quarterfinals was a completely different puzzle. Mananchaya is not just another opponent. She is a regional rival with whom Eala shares a very rich and very intense competitive history. Sawangkaew arrived in this quarterfinal riding an absolute tidal wave of momentum. She did not have the luxury of a direct main draw entry. She had to fight her way through the grueling qualifying rounds. She defeated Yuriko Miyazaki and Aoi Ito in straight sets just to get into the main draw. And then she shocked the tennis world by taking out Kayla Day in the second round, completely dominating the American 6-4, 6-1. Before stepping onto the court against Eala, Sawangkaew had won 4 consecutive matches without dropping a single set. She was adapted to the grass. She was feeling the ball cleanly, and she carried the quiet, dangerous confidence of a qualifier who feels they have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. Furthermore, the historical context between these two athletes added an incredible layer of spice to this encounter. Prior to this match, their professional head-to-head record stood at a dead heat. Sawangkaew had drawn first blood on professional circuit back in 2024 at the Takasaki Open, where she stunned Eala in a grueling 3-set battle. But Eala exacted the ultimate revenge on the most emotional stage possible, the finals of the 2025 Southeast Asian Games. In that gold medal match, Eala carried the weight of a nation that had not seen a women's singles tennis gold in 26 long years. She faced Sawangkaew, embraced the unbelievable pressure, and delivered a crushing 6-1, 6-2 victory to end the drought and etch her name in Philippine sporting history. So, as they walked onto the pristine lawns of Birmingham, the psychological warfare was already underway. Sawangkaew wanted redemption for the SEA Games heartbreak, and Eala wanted to prove that her current status as a top seed and a top 40 player in the world was unassailable. The stage was set, the audience was buzzing, and the entire continent of Asia held its breath as the umpire called play. Now, let us step directly onto the grass and take a deep, comprehensive dive into the tactical and psychological analysis of exactly how this masterpiece of a tennis match unfolded. From the very first point, it was abundantly clear that the environmental conditions were going to play a massive, disruptive role. Tennis is an outdoor sport, and players are constantly battling the elements. But the conditions in Birmingham on this particular Friday were brutal. Eala herself noted in the post-match press conference that it was bitterly cold and intensely windy. Wind is the absolute nemesis of a tennis player, particularly on a grass court. It wreaks havoc on the ball toss during the serve. It completely alters the trajectory of defensive lobs, and it makes timing aggressive ground strokes an absolute nightmare. When you are dealing with surface where the ball already bounces low and fast, adding swirling winds means that footwork and micro-adjustments become the single most important factors in winning or losing. In the first set, the tension was palpable. Both players came out testing the waters, feeling out the slick surface, and trying to gauge how the wind was affecting the ball flight. The score was deadlocked at 1 game apiece, a tense 1-1, with Sawangkaew showing that her formidable run through the qualifiers was no fluke. She was hitting the ball deep, trying to push Eala far behind the baseline, trying to dictate the terms of engagement. But it was right at this juncture, at 1-1 in the opening set, that Alexandra Eala demonstrated exactly why she is the number 1 seed and one of the most feared young players on the tour. She recognized that engaging in long, passive rallies in the wind was a losing strategy. She decided to completely take the racket out of Sawangkaew's hands. Eala stepped inside the baseline and began to execute a brand of first-strike tennis that was simply breathtaking to witness. She started taking the ball incredibly early, robbing the Thai player of any time to set up her defensive shots. By taking the ball on the rise, Eala was using Sawangkaew's own pace against her, driving flat, penetrating ground strokes deep into the corners. She orchestrated an absolute masterclass in offensive positioning, stringing together for consecutive, dominant games to surge from a 1-1 tie to a commanding 5-1 lead. It was a blitzkrieg. Her court coverage was phenomenal. Every time Sawangkaew attempted to find an angle, Eala was already there, balanced, coiled, and ready to unleash a winner. While Sawangkaew managed to hold serve once more to make it 5-3, the damage had been irreparably done. Eala maintained her laser-like focus, stepped up to the service line, and coolly closed out the first set 6-3. In just 48 minutes, the Filipina had sent a resounding message. She was in complete control of her environment and her game. But professional tennis is a sport of extreme ebbs and flows. You never truly break an opponent's spirit until they are shaking your hand at the net. Mananchaya Sawangkaew is a warrior. She did not claw her way through qualifying draw by folding under pressure. As the second set commenced, The Thai sensation dug her heels in. She increased the velocity of her first serve and started to take massive, calculated risks on her return games. The rallies became incredibly fast-paced, violent exchanges of power and precision. Both women held their opening service games. But then, Sawangkaew found an opening. She managed to secure a crucial hold and put immense pressure on Eala's serve, taking a deeply concerning 2-1 lead in the second set. This was the pivotal moment of the entire match. This was the exact scenario where doubt creeps in. Eala had just experienced a terrifying second-set deficit in her previous match against Kariva. The conditions were freezing, the wind was howling, and her opponent had suddenly found a dangerous rhythm. For a lesser player, the panic alarm would have been ringing loud and clear. They might have started overhitting, rushing their shots, or looking desperately toward their coaching box for a lifeline. But this is where we see the profound maturity of Alexandra Eala. She did not panic. She did not rush. Instead, she took a deep breath, trusted her extensive training, and reset her tactical hard drive. Down 2-1, Eala went back to the absolute fundamentals of grass court tennis. She realized she needed to disrupt Sawangkaew's newly found rhythm. She began heavily utilizing the slice backhand, an incredibly difficult shot to deal with on grass, because it stays inches off the ground, forcing the opponent to bend their knees to an agonizing degree just to lift the ball over the net. This completely neutralized Sawangkaew's power. Furthermore, Eala began moving forward. She recognized that the baseline was a war of attrition. She didn't need to fight. She capitalized on every single short ball, approaching the net with supreme confidence and executing clinical volleys. The net winners began to pile up. Eala broke Sawangkaew's serve to level it at 2-2. Then she held her own serve for 3-2. Then she broke again. The dam had completely burst. Eala strung together a mesmerizing run of 5 consecutive games, absolutely suffocating Sawangkaew's offense and systematically dismantling her defense. From being down 2-1, Eala steamrolled her way to a 5-2 lead before serving out the match with absolute authority, finishing the second set 6-2. Total match time: 1 hour and 21 minutes of pure, unadulterated tennis brilliance. The statistics from this match are a testament to Eala's dominance, but it was her post-match words that truly revealed the mindset of a champion. When interviewed on the court, with the delightful Birmingham crowd cheering her name, Eala said, "I ended the match feeling great, better than I started. Conditions were difficult today. It was cold and windy, so I'm happy with how I pulled through. I did a great job with my intensity and didn't have many dips. I tried to control the things that were in my control." That last sentence is the absolute essence of elite sports psychology. I tried to control the things that were in my control. You cannot control the freezing English weather. You cannot control the swirling winds. You cannot control the fact that your opponent is playing the tennis of her life. But you can control your footwork, your racket head speed, your tactical execution, and most importantly, your emotional equilibrium. Alexandra Eala mastered her environment by mastering herself, and that is a terrifying prospect for anyone left in this tournament draw. Eala also displayed immense class and regional pride, acknowledging the significance of 2 Southeast Asian women battling on such a grand stage. She spoke about the lack of opportunities she had in the past to play against highly ranked players on such surfaces, and how deeply grateful she is to be seizing these moments now. She is fully aware that she is carrying the torch, not just for the Philippines, but for an entire region that is desperately hungry for global tennis representation. By dismantling a player as talented and informed as Sawangkaew, Eala has not only booked her ticket to the semifinals, but she has sent a resounding warning shot across the entire WTA Tour that she is a legitimate, multi-surface threat. As we transition into the aftermath of this incredible quarterfinal and look toward the horizon, the stakes only get higher. Eala is now just 2 victories away from claiming her second career WTA 125 title, which would be a massive follow-up to her spectacular championship run in Guadalajara last year. But standing in her way is a formidable obstacle. In the semifinals, Alexandra Eala will cross swords with Switzerland's Rebecca Mazurova, a player who possesses a vastly different but equally dangerous skill set. Mazurova, currently ranked 132nd in the world, is an absolute powerhouse. She brings immense physical strength, a booming first serve, and heavy, punishing ground strokes to the table. If Sawangkaew was a test of Eala's consistency and tactical adaptability, Mazarova will be a brutal test of Eala's defensive resilience and her ability to neutralize pure, raw power on a fast grass court. Eala is under no illusions about the challenge that lies ahead. She stated candidly, "It will be a tough match." She is very skillful and very powerful, so I'll do my best to recover tonight and give my all tomorrow. The key to this upcoming semifinal will be the return of serve. If Eala can read Mazarova's massive delivery and get the ball back deep into the court, she can force the Swiss player into the exact same uncomfortable movement patterns that ultimately broke Sawangkaew. Furthermore, Eala's transition game, her ability to turn defense into offense in the blink of an eye, will be absolutely critical. She cannot afford to let Mazarova dictate from the center of the court. We are setting up for an absolute clash of styles. The heavy artillery of Mazarova against the surgical precision, speed, and court craft of Eala. But let us take a moment to absorb the broader, macro-level implications of what Alexandra Eala is currently achieving. This is about so much more than a single tournament in Birmingham. This is about momentum heading into the most prestigious tennis event on the planet, Wimbledon. Every single match Eala plays on this grass is an invaluable data point, a crucial building block in her preparation for the All-England club. The fact that she is navigating tough conditions, overcoming second-set deficits, and adapting her game to neutralize completely different types of opponents speaks volumes about her readiness for the Grand Slam stage. She is building a terrifying aura of invincibility. She is proving that her game translates to any surface, under any weather condition, against any style of play. For the Philippines, the excitement is reaching a fever pitch. We are witnessing the real-time evolution of a generational talent. Eala is no longer the future of Philippine tennis. She is the undisputed present. She is inspiring millions of young girls and boys across the archipelago, and indeed across all of Southeast Asia, proving that with relentless dedication, elite training, and an unbreakable mindset, a player from this region can travel halfway across the world and dominate the traditional powerhouses of the sport on their own turf. The 26-year gold medal drought she broke at the SEA Games was just the appetizer. What she is cooking up now on the professional tour is the main course. The entire continent of Asia remains in shock, not because Eala won, but because of the absolute sheer authority with which she dismantled a red-hot opponent under miserable conditions. She has elevated her game to a stratosphere where she is no longer just hoping to compete. She expects to win, and she expects to win definitively. As she heads into the semifinals against Rebecca Mazarova, the pressure is immense. But if there's one thing Alexandra Eala has proven over the past few years, it is that diamonds are forged under pressure. She thrives in the crucible of expectation. We will be covering every single forehand, backhand, ace, and volley of her upcoming semifinal match. This is a story that is developing at breakneck speed, and you will not want to miss a single second of this historic run. If you want to stay completely up to date with the most in-depth, comprehensive, and passionate tennis analysis on the internet, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your notification bells, and leave a comment down below with your predictions for the semifinal clash against Mazarova. Can Alexandra Eala go all the way and hoist the trophy in Birmingham? Does she have the weapons to neutralize the Swiss powerhouse? Let me know your thoughts. Until next time, keep your eyes on the court, because history is being written with every single swing of the racket. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next breakdown.